Philippe Moraga, also known as the moniker Phisnom online, is a game developer and VTube streamer who recently had the opportunity by Scott Cawthon himself to recreate the first Five Nights at Freddy's game as part of this prestigious initiative entitled the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative. So how did this now 22-year-old man get this wild opportunity? Let's go back and peek into his childhood, documented by Dev King, and his work that led to this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. According to Dev King. Okay, I'm going to stop that now. But Phisnom grew up in Chile in the early 2000s, and with the country being so behind on technology, Phil grew up with the media a decade older than most of us had access to. So therefore, he grew up on the classic video games such as Myst, Doom, the Super Mario Bros. Games, and Kirby. He was always intrigued with horror. He remembers vividly watching the Child's Play films and begging his parents for a Chucky doll in which he would lock it away and watch for signs of life. He also was a fan of the popular Resident Evil series. He also began experimenting creatively, experimenting with Windows Movie Maker as well as creating character mods for GTA San Andreas. He had discovered Five Nights at Freddy's accidentally, as the first game was released on sale on Steam, and he mistook it for an older game he had played as a kid, and had no idea it was a modern game. He joined the FNAF subreddit and befriended fellow developer Kane Carter, and began to critique his then upcoming fan game, Pop Goes. After the software developer had to quit the Pop Goes team, Phil was hired to work on Pop Goes full time. He eventually created his first fan game entitled The Shadow Over Freddy's, a point-and-click free-roam horror game. You play as an individual trapped inside an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's pizza. You must traverse the location whilst avoiding the creepy darkness that infests every corner of the building. Complete different objectives each night, uncover your lost memories, and find a way out of the accursed restaurant. With viral marketing from a Twitter account created that left teasers for the game that needed to be deciphered, much like the original FNAF games. Phil's future looked bright. He had a good job as a software developer for a very successful FNAF fan game. He showed promise as an independent game developer, with a teaser for his original game with the FNAF gameplay style and within the animatronics horror genre being highly anticipated. However, with every story, it took an unexpected turn. On the 29th of July, he deleted his Twitter account, YouTube account, and Discord. He didn't say anything by himself, but friends of his have said that he looked back at the past 5 years and decided to disappear from the internet to be a better person, and cancelled all of his upcoming games, only to come back a couple days later and publicly announce that Porkchop's horror show was cancelled, to then work on the open source FNAF 2 Game Maker Studio test called FNAF 2 OS. Later renamed to another FNAF game open source, to this day, nobody knows if this was a stunt to hype up his future games, or if he had something occur behind the scenes in which he quit the internet for a few days. Nobody will truly know except Phil. However, everyone was excited for his return, with his recent endeavour resulting in an event that would make him the target of Scott Cawthon himself. However, we have to return to Porkchop's horror show. He released a spin-off game titled Porkchop's Adventure, and at first it was an old Atari-style side-scroller. However, much like FNAF 6, it was revealed to be the much-anticipated Porkchop's horror show, with the upcoming game being described as
being stuck in the place after hours has never been so much fun. This elevator to the exit has been broken down again, and it'll take a moment until somebody comes to rescue you. So why not pass the time by playing a short tying game? It's Wonderworld, a new adventure, a cute platforming game starring Porkchop the Friendly Pig in his quest to venture into the wacky places and rescue his friends before the big show starts. Jump and dash through 3 different stages. Fight big bosses, unlock new moves, ignore the noises outside your rooms, find trinkets, and explore all the hidden secrets this licensed kids game has to offer. It's not like there's anything better you can do with your time anyway.
It is set to be Phil's next project after FNAF Plus, and is set to be his new series that he wants to develop away from the FNAF Five Nights at Freddy's series, with the current Porkchop's Adventure being a teaser for what's to come up in the next game in the series, being described as
Welcome, dear contestants, to the experience of a lifetime inside the reinforced walls of Pork Chop's Horror Show, where the brave and mentally unstable alike come to throw their lives away for the promise of money, prizes, and fame. Survive the winding corridors of the haunted meat factory, where a mechanical but maniacal friend Pork Chop will hunt you down and make you wish your death was as quick and painless as a single jumpscare. Unrepentant thrill seeker, face the many death traps laid out, each one more erratic yet and horrifying. As each new season ups an ant on the budget of the violence, the death, the scares, and the mysterious and convoluted story surrounding our your living mascot character keeps pulling our audience back for some more with every new installment. Do you have what it takes to beat Pork Chop's Horror Show?
It released to a high praise amongst the community, with Dorco and other FNAF YouTubers playing it on their channels and cementing Phil as a competent game developer. However, it was sadly taken down by Scott Cawthon himself, as it was too familiar to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In conversation with Scott via email, he told him the news and was sympathetic to Phil. Phil used this as an opportunity to critique the games and the story so far. However, Scott had been developing an initiative that would change Phil's life. He then asked Phil if he would like to make the original game as a remake, licensed by himself and funded under the brand new Fazbear Fanverse initiative. And Phil jumped at the chance. He began work on what is now known as Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. He was happier than ever. He'd recently left the Pop Goes team with him remaining friends with Kane, and so decided to stream on weekends whilst he made progress on the game series. However, it all led to a fateful day on December 16th, 2021, when a game released that would call into question if Phil could be a fan of the series any longer.
Hi, this will be one of the few rare times that I will be completely and totally honest with everyone publicly. Exciting, isn't it? I believe it's necessary after the events of Security Breach's release and my own recorded experiences with the game on my livestream, since many of you have expressed confusion, annoyance, or even genuine concern about my recent comments about the FNAF series and my involvement with it, especially that I'm done with FNAF and that FNAF is dead to me. So it's time to clear the air. Are you like, okay, dude? First of all, right now, I'm actually feeling extremely happy and content. I know that sounds very weird after everything I've said, or maybe even a lie, but I genuinely feel like a huge weight that I've been carrying on my back for years has finally been lifted. I've had many issues with the path FNAF has taken over the years. Been with it since its inception. 7 long years, really loved the first game, but obviously things have changed a lot since then, which has led me to make fun of and complain a lot about pretty much every aspect of the series, from the books to the movie to merchandise, and of course the main series of games. Keeping myself entertained by adopting a cynical, confrontational persona and being very vocal about things I dislike, even while still remaining a fan in the vain hope that I would be proven wrong in my pessimistic takes, or that maybe, somehow, the series would shift back once again into the direction that made me interested in these games in the first place. The release of Security Breach has convinced me this will never happen. The series will continue in a direction that I dislike, and there is nothing that can be done about it. While some people would feel absolutely distraught over this, to me personally, it's actually an incredibly liberating and positive feeling. When you aren't a fan of something, you don't have to be concerned or care about its issues. You don't have to stress out about how that something will turn out in the future or what will happen to it. You're just done with it. Simple as that. It's not just one game that made this happen. It was just a very large final push, preceded by many other mounting issues that most others have probably also experienced these past few years. The painfully slow decline in the quality of the story, the brand almost being associated with NFTs, the controversial practices of FNAF special delivery by Illumix, Scott Cawthon being cancelled, publicly slammed and officially retiring from the series, and very personally, John O'Crone. I may appear to be a tougher cookie than most when it comes to handling these things, but everyone has a breaking point, and Security Breach was mine. In a way, I'm actually thankful that the game turned out the way it did. Not only because I've always been personally able to enjoy messing with and making fun of broken games, but also because of how completely and utterly it has disintegrated my investment in this franchise. So now I finally feel at peace, and that's not a bad thing at all. Did you exaggerate your reactions to the game on stream? For sure, but I mean, that's how theater works. You have to put on a fun, dramatic show for an audience. It made my playthrough of Security Breach just that much more special and very cathartic, especially in comparison to if I've played it alone. I honestly probably would have stopped playing the game within an hour if I'd played it alone. These past few days have been an absolute blast. The streams I've done for FNAF Security Breach have been such a thrilling roller coaster of emotions and amazing moments and experiences that I got to share with hundreds of people live. I consider them the peak of my brief stint as a streamer. I began streaming on YouTube months ago for two main reasons: preparing myself to play Security Breach on release, and to help motivate me to have fun again with games during my free time, as I've had issues with dropping things midway through and getting distracted too easily. I think it's safe to say now this little experiment of mine has been an overwhelming success. I want to genuinely thank everyone that dropped by and had fun with me, everyone that donated, everyone who helped in making the stream better, or simply made a joke on chat that made me laugh. Thank you so much for making all of this worth it. It turned a bad game into a great experience for me. Do you really hate Security Breach, and why? Definitely, and for many reasons, but mainly the game is pretty much the complete opposite of what made Five Nights at Freddy's games so enjoyable for me in the first place. I'm a fan of horror. The darker and edgier, the better. It's my genre of choice. I'm a fan of short, experimental indie titles with inventive mechanics.